Hi, my name is Jody Luke. I am the executive director of Love Does, and we are back well underway for the second season of the Love Does podcast. It sounds so official to say season. I don't really think of it like that. I think of just talking to our friends. But Love Does cares for the vulnerable, fights for human rights, and provides education in conflict zones. And we're pretty aggressive on the doing part of Love Does. We have grown dramatically in the last several years. We actually expanded to our 14th country this year, which is just crazy. But the depth and the width of the programs that we are involved with around the world is just immense. But we found that this podcast is a great way to just share some of the inspiring stories that happen within Love Does and introduce you to the dynamic leaders that make it happen, all in an effort really to connect more with you. There is such a really generous and kind community that comes around everything that we do at Love Does. It's so positive. I think you can't have enough positivity in today's world, that's for sure. It reminds me of Bob's quote, when joy is a habit, love is a reflex. And we definitely see that. This past summer, I had the great opportunity to travel to Poland for the third time in as many years and had some extended time in Ukraine. For those that need a refresher, you probably don't, but Russia invaded Ukraine in the spring of 2022, and they rained down missiles all over Ukraine in a really massive, full-scale invasion, caused a lot of destruction, and over 3.5 million refugees crossed the border from Ukraine into Poland. And 1 million of those have stayed. And the strain on the social services, and over half of those are school-age children, especially on the schools. And so that's the backdrop on how I met today's guest, Estera. She resides in Warsaw, Poland. She is a mighty advocate for kids. She's wildly intelligent and she's humble, all three pretty much at the same time. She has a really sweet voice. You're going to hear it shortly, and demeanor. But don't be fooled. She is a powerhouse. While she's wearing black today, she can rock a fuchsia business suit like nobody's business. And she's really creative and was able to stand up our schools in record time. I really think of you as really a modern day hero. You deserve a cape. We don't have that today. We have a microphone, so we'll have to settle for that. But welcome to the podcast, Estera.
Hi, Jody. It's so nice to see you. Yeah, I'm very flattered that I'm here with you today.
I love that I get to talk to you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so hello, my name is Estera Jurczyk, and I came from really, really small village. We have like 100 people there, and I always joke that we have more dogs than people there. From the really beginning, I was growing up next to the rehab center for the people who are addicted from the alcohol and drugs, because my mom was a nurse there, and also she had an apartment there. So from the beginning, I was growing up next to the people who needs and need, and who also are fighting for the better life for themselves. So it was great for me to look at them and to see how they are fighting, how they are feeling during this time when they just fight for the future. So because of that, when I was 16, I decided to move to my dormitory, and I moved from my home there to get the education system. I was on the every extracurricular classes there because I was alone in a new city. So I was trying to solve the time which I had. So during that time, I was keen about the technology, the robotics, and I made with my friend the probe, which we sent to the stratosphere. Then we won the contest in Romania because of that. So I was able to go to the study to the capital of the Poland, to Warsaw. And 8 years ago, I came here and I'm starting to be on the studies, which was automation and robotics. And I completed it. So now I am an engineer from automation and robotics. And yeah, now
Estera, that's wild. So you're basically a robotics engineer. I mean, when I said wildly intelligent, I don't know that I meant that wildly intelligent. That is really, really impressive. Well, take us back to 2022. So Russia invades Ukraine. What are you thinking? And then why did you want to get involved? And I love the background behind your mom being a nurse, which just gives so much insight to me as to your heart and a little bit about how you grew up. But what were you thinking, and why did you want to get involved?
Yeah, so I remember that day, and I remember that weeks at the beginning of the war. We, as a Polish nationality, we were really wanted to help people who were abroad. I was also really involved in our church. So we, as a church, we didn't think about, oh, should we help? We just think how we can help, what the help is the most needed for this time. So I remember that we, with Pastor Maciek and Pastor Iga, were just sitting and thinking what we can do to help people there, because a lot of Polish people went to the border, just was trying to take the people from the border to the Warsaw to find them a new train to Berlin or to Italy or the cities where they have a family, like, and they can stay there. So we discovered that there's a big need for baby formula in the Ukraine. The women which give the birth for the kids, they were so stressful that they couldn't make own milk for the infants. So that's why we started to collecting that milk powder, not milk powder, but
The
milk
formula.
for them. And this started like that. And after that, we went to the train station, like to see the people who are there. And we saw a lot of young people who were there waiting for the trains. There was like 1 week just sitting on the one bench, trying to get the nearest train and to go to the new new future, which is for those kids. So this is what we have as our team, as the church, which I am here in Warsaw. We really care about the young people. So that's why we thought that we just want to spend time with those people, just make some creative workshop with them.
Yes. And I love your comment about it wasn't a function of if I wanted to get involved. It was just, of course we are. There wasn't even a question. You absolutely were going to be involved. And I met Maciek pretty quickly on, which is the pastor of the church that you're talking about, at a refugee center for 5,000 in Warsaw, Poland at that time. And of course, we spent some time at the border. And then it became apparent, as you said, that there was a lot of young people that were around. And so we did a youth center. We had all sorts of activities on the, I don't know, it was the third floor or something around there on the refugee center. And all of the volunteers from the church were staffing it. And you all were tremendous. It was around the clock volunteers. Very quickly after that, I said to Maciek, hey, all these kids are here. Why don't we start a school? And looking back, I think your whole team was so exhausted in the sense that you were volunteering all of the time. I mean, everybody was doing everything they could. They gave their money, their resources, their energy, everything. And so the fact that the team even was willing to take on a project like that was pretty amazing. And of course, having a background in robotics engineer, it's crazy that Pastor Maciek was like, Estera's the one to do it, but you are really a cross between this wildly intelligent left brain person and this other full of heart leader. And so when Pastor Maciek said to you, hey, Estera, what would you think about creating a school on the 4th floor of the refugee center? What did you think?
Oh, to be honest, I remember that it was a rush of emotions in myself, because from one hand, I'm the person who loves to solve the problems. So whereas something doesn't go well, I'm like the person who invites the way how we can solve that, how we can go through different ideas. But also from the other hand, I knew that being the director is something unfamiliar with me. I've never do that. I was only making the classes for the kids, and I was teaching them how to program the robots in Lego bricks. But it's not like making the whole school. So I remember our beginning when we started to make workshops at the refugee center, because we started doing that in the biggest refugee center in Poland. That was the refugee center, which is called Expo, and it has like 5,000 people there. So I remember when we started to build the community there, it was also something new for me. And those kids who were just running to us and want to spend time with us, and me having a job, I was like 3 times per week there, because my battery was was charged because of those kids and because of all of these hacks and things like that. So what I usually say, that working with the refugee, it's something that you cannot have the plan, like ready make plan, and during the 1 month you will solve everything with the plan which you prepared before. So working with the refugees is something that you need to solve the problem which are in that time and this minute. So when Pastor Maciek just came to me and asked me, Esther, do you want to be a director? I was like, Maciek, it's something which I've never done, but I would love to try that, because I see that it's a big need in this refugee center. There were kids who, after the COVID-19, so it's like 2 years of COVID, then the war happened. So it was like 1 year of war. They had 3 years doesn't attended to the classes. So some of them had 10 years old or 11 years old, and they didn't know how to write, how to read, how to keep the pen properly in the hand. So I knew that it's a big need, and I just want to solve that problem. So this is not time to think about, oh, should I be a director? It's the time to see what I can do for those kids who are in the help, who needs the help, and who doesn't have access to the education, because the online school also wasn't the school which worked because of the war. The places where the online school was based sometimes were unable to give the internet connection. So that's why I decided that I will do that. I'm not here alone. I have Maciek, I have you, Jody, I have like the whole team from Love Does, who can also give us the know-how how to build the school in the refugee center. And this is how we started. And now it's something which grew up like really big. And yeah, I'm really proud of saying yes in this time.
Well, you really should be proud of saying yes, because you've created something really remarkable. And I love how you view it all as you just wanted to solve a problem. And you brought your special, unique gifts and talents to it. Again, a robotics engineer. It's amazing. We have like a STEM school and we didn't even know it. That being said, it's probably part of the reason why, and again, we had to stand it up so quickly because the need was great. That was very apparent. But then the president of the neighboring country in Ukraine, President Zelensky, a wartime president, chose to highlight several schools last fall to just encourage those kids to continue to pursue their education even in the midst of war. And the Love Does School was chosen to highlight. What was that like for you? What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think it validated the all hard work which we made, like building the school, because we were the only one school in Poland which was chosen by president. And there was a plenty of Ukrainian kids here in Poland. So that's why I understood that what we are doing have impact, and what we are doing here also is seen somewhere else. So this is what I usually tell to my kids in the school, that what you are doing, sometimes you are not thinking that someone see that, but there is a plenty of people who are watching you and who are really proud of you and who just want to make the same thing which you are doing now. So when president connected with us, we as the whole team, as the whole school, also the kids, were feeling like seen by someone. And also the kids were really enjoying seeing the president of the Ukraine on the screen, because I don't know if you know, but Ukrainian people are really keen about the culture. When we made some workshop with kids and we have a whole colorful palette of paint. They usually paint the flags of Ukraine. They didn't choose the pink color. They didn't choose the green color. There were always like Ukrainian flags everywhere. In the free time, they teach us how to sing the hymn of the Ukraine. So yeah, that was also so meaningful for those kids. And they started to have the Ukrainian education with smile on their faces. So that was wonderful time for our school.
They are definitely patriotic. We saw that time and time again, that's for sure. So you're in charge of the Love Does School right now, which you're doing a remarkable job. But what's crazy to me is that Love Does, particularly the book, played an important role in your life and in your history. And you read it many years before Russia ever invaded Ukraine. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so that was 8 years ago. It's a plenty of time, to be honest. I came here to Warsaw starting the new studies, and pastor of our church just told us, "Hi, we have the English book, which is called Love Does, but it's really, really remarkable, and you should take it." So I took that, and I decided that it will be my textbook. So I was trying to learn the new words, and I was crossing the new words in the book, and was taking the piece of the paper on my right side and translating them for the Polish. And that was my way to learn English. I wasn't able to speak the sentence in English, and now I'm here at the podcast with you. So I think that it has power. And what is really interesting that I connected like one specific word with Love That School, and the word is whimsy, and that was the word which really was connected with my heart. And I was reading the whole stories which Bob Goff included in this book, and he mentioned um, about being really
Whimsical and injecting that in life, right?
yeah, that's true. And really what amazed me over the years, so that was the courage which he gives to people. And in this book, he also mentioned that it's good to always take one step further and to see what's happened. I remember his story about the trip with his daughter, like 10 years old trip, when he didn't plan like whole trip. He knew only that his daughter, Lindsay, just want to drink the cup of tea. So he chose the London for making a trip. And now, like 8 years later, I can connect that with me and being the director of school, that I didn't know where I will be accommodated. I didn't know where I will sleep in this London, but I knew that I have like a goal which I want to make. Like I want to have a tea with my daughter. So I can just connect these two stories, which are really close to my heart right now.
It's just remarkable that it played that important of a role in your life. You were learning English. I don't know that that was the purpose of the book Love Does, but amazing that it also became a tool to learn English. But I love the whimsy part of that too. And I've seen how you've interwoven that into the programs. You're really creative with your summer programs. There, we do joy festivals. You created those, and it's really important for kids that are walking through trauma to have those times to rest and have joy. Behind you, for those that are just listening to this podcast, you can't see behind you, but there's a whole playground behind you that's very, very colorful. And it just screams joy and kids. And it's more important than we recognize for kids, particularly in trauma, because it gives space for time to start to have coping skills and resiliency skills and some really um, life-saving, quite frankly, things as people are walking through trauma, that you would have joy and whimsy intersect their life in that way. Is that why you do some of the summer programming the way that you do? Because it's really fun. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we started doing our events on in this refugee center, which I mentioned before, because there was like a big spaces for people who were laying down on the beds, and the distance from the beds was 20 to 30 centimeters. So kids didn't have a ability to play, didn't have the ability to run in the room. So that's why I knew that they need something which will be fun for them, which they will which they will
Which is
yeah
important
so
for them.
yeah, it's important for them, and that I will remember this time in Poland, not only common with the trauma, but also they will remember some good stuff. So that's why we decided that we will make the Joy Festivals. We just want also to show them that they can be part of something big. So we ask them if they want to be a volunteer, if they want to give the ice creams for others. So this was also the part where we wanted to create the new leaders, like the small leaders, which will knew what to do in the future life. We decided that it's really, really good opportunity for kids to feel like that they have power and they can do something. So that's why we are making the Joy Festivals once per 3 months. And we started with these refugee kids. Now we are moved to other place and we are open for all refugee in Warsaw. And on the events, we have sometimes 1,000 kids, sometimes 500. So it's like a big, big events when we have just sharing the love and we just here having a fun with those kids.
Well, when I was there this past summer, as you said, we moved from the refugee center. So we were on the fourth floor of the refugee center, and then we've moved to a location that we are renting. So it's sort of a more permanent building in the city center. And we had our first really official graduations. We have a primary school and a secondary school. And I say there's a lot of days within Love Does that I go to bed at night and I just sort of shake my head and I just think, oh my gosh, that was really a remarkable day. I'm really grateful to God that I get to be in this role and get to see what I get to see. But just like when people say, hey, what's your favorite movie? It's hard to say like what's your very favorite, but I will say that that day was one of my most favorite days that I've ever had within Love Does because it was so meaningful how quickly these schools started, and then we got to preside over graduation, and all of the primary school kids and all of the dancing and the parents and the way that they talked. A lot of them are now widows, and the high school kids, the way they could articulate. Um, what the school has meant to them and their journey and everything that they've had to go through. I remember you standing on the stage, speaking of the book that you read, and you said, your life can change one book at a time, one school at a time, one relationship at a time. And you gave such a picture of hope and a future to those kids. It was really powerful. It was a really meaningful day for me. What was that day for you? Because that was really the first official graduation that we have had since we started the school.
Yeah, that's true. And also, that was the first day when the kids can be on the event like that. Because, as I mentioned before, there was like 2 years of COVID, and after that, 2 years of war. And the Ukrainian people are really social, they're really love to be on the stage. So that's why for those kids, that was something which they cannot wait for. And we had plenty of kids who was singing, who was dancing, and also we have parents who just want to be on the stage and who just want to share the story about what the school is in their lives too, because this is what is really close to my heart, that school is not only for the kids. We have 100 kids right now, but we have impact for, I think, that 500 people, because one kid has parents and aunties and siblings, and when they came back from the school, they can just share the emotion which we just try to learn them. So that's why that was really important for me, that on our graduation day were also parents who just want to say thank you. I was really traumatized. I didn't have power to stand up from my bed. But when my kid just go to the school and I saw that he's starting to smile, that he started to make a new friendship, I was able to be to smile to him too. So this is what was important for us also. And what was the meaningful for me, that after this graduation, I saw those kids who were just having the tears in the eyes that they are going to end the school. And that was really meaningful for me, because also now we have a social media. So I have some kids on social media too. And I could see the photos which they give on the story on Instagram. And they was like, oh no, love the school, it's ended. What right now? And after also the graduation, 1 week after that, they just came to us to visit us and just to talk. So I think that Love Does was the project which really was something important for them. I remember the first day when they came to us, and they were really, really polite. I was worried that they are so polite that they are not talking too much, because they were so stressed. And then on the graduation day, I could see the people who has like a big friendships. And I know that we have the saying that friend in need is a friend indeed. And I think that because of the trauma, it's easier for you to make a friendships which are really close, because you are in the same moment in your life and you have the same trauma, so you can understand each other and you can create something which is important for you, and you can create the new future for your life. So this day was so meaningful for me, also like to see how those kids are developing themselves, how everything changed, because we as a people are always in rush. So sometimes it's good to stand and just see what's happened like during this whole year or 2 years.
It was a moment. There was one boy who had stood up and talked about being under Russian occupation for 9 months, 8 months. I've told the story a number of times because it was impressed upon me so much. But he had been just north of Kyiv under Russian occupation and then was able to escape through a 48-hour humanitarian window. And he was speaking from the stage with such specificity. He said, then we escaped to a sidewalk and it was raining and I had to spend the night on a sidewalk and I was just hopeless, and then somehow made his way through the country to Warsaw and then to the refugee center, and then was able to go to the school. And he just talked really eloquently about how hope had been lost and then hope had been regained through the school and the staff and the care and the love of the people that he had found there. And he did it in a way that as he was talking, his friends on the second row were also really emotional, listening and watching him. So it's really true that those friendships that were formed during this time, I think they will be friendships that will actually live with these families for the rest of their lives because it's been so impactful. It reminds me of the quote by Bob where he'll say, "No setback is permanent unless you say it so." And I feel like the staff and everybody there have been so conscious about telling these kids that while they've endured a setback, and they have, that it doesn't have to be permanent, and that they're going to do everything they can to provide them with the resources so that they have a really bright future. What do you hope for those really cute primary kids that were doing all the dances and were so thoughtful that day, and also the high school kids? What do you hope for them?
So I hope for them that they can be really brave in their lives. They went through all the stuff which me as an adult I've never experienced in my life. So I think that they're like soldier for me too, because they went from the whole way to, as you mentioned about the Kostia, because it's the name of the boy who was 8 years under the occupation, and it's also the boy who came to our school. And I don't know more determined person in my life. He was so keen about learning the Polish languages. He was also like the person who has almost 100% of being on the classes. He never lose the classes, the lessons. Even when he has a problem with the ears, he was asking about the doctors if he can go to the school because he really wants to be here. So this showed me how important for those kids is to be in the place which is safe for them, because this was our goal, to build the school, to build a place which is safe for all of the kids. So this is also my hope for the primary kids in our school, like to find the place where it's safe, to find the people who can encourage you, and to change the strength which you have because of the trauma to strength to build the new things. And as I knew a lot of people who made a big influence in their lives, they usually have a bad things in the future, in the past way. So I think that those kids will be well known in the world, and I really think that I can be like a grandma, which will have a lot of stories to tell about those kids and what they're doing right now with helping other people, with having their own company, because this is what was important in our school. We made the business plan for the kids, like to teach them how to make a business, to teach them, hey, you have a lot of talents. It's not hard for you to make a project. And also these festivals, we just wanted to make sure that they are in part of festivals, because the practical way of learning is the best way to have things in your life, and to be really really confident about things which you have.
I love how you bring your engineering background to everything you're doing with regard to just providing a solution, and it's all the details around it really is remarkable. And yes, you will be a role model. I don't know that you'll be a grandma. If you are, you'll be the coolest grandma around, that's for sure. But I do think on that day we were really cognizant about sharing, wanting them to know that they're not less than because what they've gone through. If anything, they're actually more than. That we have found that those that really endure, and I think you were alluding to it, some really difficult hardships, and if they're able to walk through them and continue to move forward, that they're actually the strongest among us. And so it means that their future is that much more bright because of what they've gone through, not less than, but more than. And I think we saw that over and over. I do want to, and I don't think I've talked about it in the past as much, but what sort of are the ongoing needs in Poland and at our school? And you haven't taught you kind of alluded to it, that we have a school of 100 plus, but we have actually 200 on the waiting list, in part because of the reputation that we have developed as being a really excellent school that's not only safe and loving, but it really is almost that STEM type of excellence because of the way in which you lead it. And so there's so many kids that want to be a part of it. We're at a permanent location and we'd like to expand it. And we're able to rent more of the building, but that will take resources. And of course, our big dream is to buy a building. Because so many of the refugees that are in Poland and are in Warsaw, they will not be returning even after the war ends, that this really is their home away from home. And what does that look like for this, for our school to have a permanent building that will really outlast even you and I? That would really be our big dream. But I think the other one was the scholarships that we talked about. That some of these high school students are so promising. And as we said, because of what they've gone through, they have even a more bright future. And by the way that you all have educated them in the last couple years, they're a really great candidate for university scholarships. And a couple of the universities around Warsaw actually extended some of our students a full scholarship given their performance, which is really impressive. And again, what we try to do is excellence all the way around, but we'd like to be able to give more scholarships, particularly in this next year. And I know one of those students is currently even residing still at the refugee center. I can't even imagine going through, your daily life when you're at a refugee center, much less pursue a university education. But can you talk a little bit to the importance of what it would look like to be able to offer scholarships to some of our graduating students in the future?
Yeah, for sure. The Ukrainian kids, they cannot be in the high school or at the academy for free in Poland because they are not Polish people. So that's why it's very important for them to have the scholarship. We also have a different program in Poland and in Ukraine. So in Ukraine, when you have 16 years old, you ended your your educational system and you go to work. Here in Poland, you need to be in an educational system until you're 18th year old. So because now is the big problem with the boys who are taken to the Ukraine because of the war and because the country needs the new soldier. The boys I really wanted to go to the university, but sometimes they are not able to pay for that. So this is why we are looking for sponsors who are able to help them, because this is their future and they're really wanted to learn as much as they can. Like the Polish language is really similar to the Ukrainian one. So for those kids, it's sometimes half of year or just 1 year of being here. And they're really good, good students at the Polish companies too, because they're care and they want to be in Poland and to build a life here. So why it's also important to support them, because some of the people who was trying to came from the Ukraine to Poland, they came from the Russian border too. And the soldiers there, they took all of the money which people took to the backpacks. And sometimes it was the everything which they have. There was like money which they was collecting for the studies of the kids, and now this disappearing. So that's why those kids needs to start from the beginning and the beginning. And I know that it's really hard to work and to learn. So this is like a big opportunity for them to change the life, to help also the family, because the dad is on the war and mom is in the new country and she's not able to have a work which she had before in the Ukraine. So I see in these boys and also in the girls that they want to help the family by having a job. But what I'm telling them, that it's great to go to the university, because after that you can have a job which is more pay, which you'll earn more and more money after being on the study, and you can have more impact for your family and you can help them more after the studies. So that's why this is why we as a team are looking for the scholarship for our kids.
It could be so impactful. I can't think of a better role model. I love the passion which comes across, that you love these kids and you want to give them opportunities. You love extraordinarily well these kids in a really difficult time. And Estera, you've created a space and a place that empowers these kids to continue to move forward and really heal almost real time, because it's not only an environment that's safe, as you said, but it's also one that's really joyful. And that's really hard to do. So I'll say, when I think about your legacy, which you're so young, but you already have one, I don't even think it's going to be just limited to the fact that you started these schools in record time, or that the president, a wartime president, highlighted them, or even that you created a home away from home. But to me, and it's really how you communicate. You communicate with and without words that these kids are seen, that they are valued, and that they have a future. And they get that. And I get it watching you. And it's really remarkable. And you have a great team behind you, and Pastor Maciek and Iga. I was talking to them about you not too long ago, and Pastor Maciek described you in emojis, which is so him. And he put a heart and a unicorn, or maybe it was a unicorn and a heart. I don't know. But I love that it's the emoji, because there are not even words to adequately describe just the unique, beautiful leader that you are. And of course, Iga said you were optimistic and empathetic and strong and all those things. But that really also just describes the whole team, between Anne Marie, who we're going to highlight on a podcast as well, and Milana and Marta and Caroline, and the whole team there is really remarkable. But you lead our school and you lead it so well. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for caring about those Ukrainian kids. Thank you for continuing to care about the kids and doing it with such excellence. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to thank you also, Jody, for the opportunity for us and for being with us for such long period, because here in Poland, there's a lot of foundation which needs to close, because it's sometime it will be 3 years after the war. So people are they're not having this passion for being in the project, which takes so long. And you, as a Love Does team, are with us for this long period of time, and we can feel secure with you, and we can feel that we can build a beautiful, beautiful life for those kids. So really thank you for that.
Well, we're not going anywhere. It is one of the most meaningful things we've ever been a part of. And so we're in it together for life, Estera, you and me. Hey, thanks for your time today, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, it's Bob Goff here. I've been part of this great caper called Love Does for quite a while. And I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to have some more information about Love Does, you can go to lovedoes.org. You could also email hello@lovedoes.org. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Here's the important part. Do something, whatever that is. Don't just agree with what you heard. What's your next courageous step? See you later.